All other sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most and precious Bodhi. All Mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. All Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Bodhi. Thus, until I achieve Buddha, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Most excellent, I take refuge until Bodhi is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all wandering beings. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, bias of attachment and aversion. May all Mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from their happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings as the sky have happiness and the causes of happiness, may they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion. So if you have the 4th session Guru Yoga text, the PDF file, please turn to page 12. Then Despecha is page 112. 112. Maybe someone, if you know how to do it, can share the 4 sessions Guru Yoga text in the chat. Otherwise, it was shared in the Dr. Lai's program WhatsApp group. If you should join that, if you are not already in the DDIS, then you should join the Dr. Lai's WhatsApp, Dr. Lai's program WhatsApp group. I respectfully pay homage with fierce and longing faith of the 3 types to you, the glorious Guru, Lord of the 4 Kayas, with my body, speech, and mind. I make offerings of all these established things, outer, inner, and other, the one who offers that which is offered, and the act of offering, indivisible in essence. This being so, I make this offering of the single great taste, free from elaborations. Grant me the accomplishment, effortlessness. I lay bare the impairments and breakings of the vows of the 3 vehicles and rejoice in your liberating deeds. Please turn the wheel of Dharma accordance with the capacities of those to be trained and remain here for as long as samsara has not been emptied. I dedicate the merit accumulated in the 3 times to the welfare of wandering beings. I supplicate you, the Dharmakaya, great Vajradhara of the 6th family. I supplicate you, the 85 Indian Mahasiddhas. I supplicate you, Tili Pragya Bhadra. I supplicate you, Naronyana Siddhi. I supplicate you, Marpa of Lodra, the translator. I supplicate you, Mila Shepa Dorje. I supplicate you, Dao Shunu of Dapo. I supplicate you, the 3 Siddhas of Kam. I supplicate you, Dorje Gyalpo of Pagdu. I supplicate you, Jesun Dorje Beldra. I supplicate you, Supreme Refuge, Jikten Sumgön. I supplicate you, Dharma Lord Nashri. I supplicate you, Kenjen Sutum Dorje. I supplicate you, Unchen Sonam Dragpa. I supplicate you, Chenga Dragpa Jungne. I supplicate you, Chung O Dorje Dragpa. I supplicate you, Toka Rinchen Senge. I supplicate you, Samche Dragpa Sonam. I supplicate you, Chuni Dorje Rinchen. I supplicate you, Tuku Dorje Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Nirni Chuki Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Shenyan Tundrum Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Rinchen Pelgi Gyaltsen. I supplicate you, Chu Gyal Rinchen Pelzang. I supplicate you, Rixin Chuki Gyatso, I supplicate you, Gyawang Kunga Rinchen, I supplicate you, Jetsen Rinchen Punso. I supplicate you, Rinchen number Gyawa. I supplicate you, Benchen Pyogi Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Chogle number Gyawa. I supplicate you, Tsungme Chogyao Punso. I supplicate you, Drupjen Dashi Punso. I supplicate you, Jesun Kunjo Rinchen. I supplicate you, Rixin Chuki Dragba. I supplicate you, Kunjo Trinner Namjao. I supplicate you, Kunjo Trinle Sangpo. I supplicate you, Trinle Dundrum Chujiao. I supplicate you, Kunjo Tenzin Drudu. I supplicate you, Tenzin Chuki Nimam. I supplicate you, Kyabda Pime Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Jamyan Chuki Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Chuang Chuki Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Rinchen Tempe Zegin. I supplicate you, Gyawang Tuje Nima. I supplicate you, Rixin Nuden Dorje. I supplicate you, Jesun Chuki Lodrong. I supplicate you, Gyaucho Shive Lodro. I supplicate you, Jisen Dhammakara. I supplicate you, Trisab Tenzin Tumten. I supplicate you, the Tao God, you, protectors of wandering beings. I supplicate you, my kind Root Guru, look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate the rarity of the freedoms and endowments, I still squander away my life. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on impermanence and death, I still fixate on composite phenomena as permanent. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the unmistaken nature of cause and effect. I still pervert what to adopt and what to abandon. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the sufferings of cyclic existence. I still take the way to the lower realms. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I safeguard the vows of individual liberation, I still lack renunciation and the determination to be free. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on all wandering beings as my parents. I still have bias attachment to friends and aversion for enemies. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate loving kindness and compassion, I still hold on to envy and enmity. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate aspiration and action bodhicitta, I still focus only on my own welfare. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my body as the deity's exalted form, I still cling to ordinary perception. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I have counted the mantras to be recited, I still waste away my life force. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate samadhi of moon in the water, I still solidify things as real and substantial. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I conclude by dissolving in the subsequent stage. I still purify and confess superficially. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my own mind as free from elaborations, I still have conceptual attitudes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate, not grasping at whatever arises, I still affix an artificial watchfulness. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate resting freely in the natural state, I still amplify artificialities. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane. Although I meditate on unity beyond conceptions, I still get carried away by the masses of likes and dislikes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane. I supplicate you who are my refuge and protector in this and all other lives, physician who removes the chronic diseases of samsara, hero who vanquishes the enemies that are afflictive emotions, sun which dispels the darkness of ignorance, moon that protects from the heat of suffering, jewel which fulfills all our needs and desires, you Guru who are all inclusive and all sufficient, I supplicate you from the depths of my heart. With compassion, swiftly heed me, effortlessly bestow your blessings. Grant me now and on this seat the naturally accomplished feast of the two benefits. I am endowed with both merit and devotion. Do not leave my hopes unfulfilled. Don't cast away my devotion in vain. Don't let my supplications vanish unanswered. Don't be indifferent with your compassion, refuge and protector in this life, in the intermediate state and beyond. Whatever occurs, joy or sorrow, good or bad, only you are my hope. Look upon me with eyes of compassion. You alone are my hope. So we will probably be alternating between the Achi smoke offering and this invocation. And now go back to that opening, brief opening text to the dedication. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage Gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis. Please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstructors who harm those who create obstacles, Maras who mislead, and Yamara retinues have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth of this life not arise for even a moment with my mind stream, moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta. May I come under the care of spirit, various virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the three times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. So now we continue what we just started, which is the great Drikung teachings to the assembly. The book, I think, is still available to purchase from that one bookstore in New York, upstate New York, Namse Bangzhou. Or you can also purchase the e-copy. At least until recently, maybe they have changed the way they do this. You should know, even when you purchase the e-book, it takes a while for them to send it to you. It's not automated. So someone, when they come out of a retreat, I think, then they send you the ebook. Meanwhile, you have to purify your negative karma. Mm. Then, it will arrive. So all these efforts, if you relate to all these efforts in the right, with the right frame of mind, then they become occasions of merit accumulation. Otherwise, it's mere suffering, and mere suffering has no value. Sometimes we think, we hear about the difficulties that Milarepa went through. We hear about the difficulties that Naropa went through. And then we think, that the value is in the difficulties themselves. The value is not in the difficulties themselves, but the response to the difficulties is what is valuable. So what difficulties offer is an opportunity, or opportunities. What difficulties offer are opportunities for us to turn them into merit. So very fertile soil often doesn't look so good or smell so good. So then, especially if we're not used to farming, gardening, so you might have to put smelly things, into the soil. So then, if you don't understand, when you see that, then you plant negative seeds, then negative sprouts. But if you understand, and then you put, the seeds of whatever you want, then they grow. Yeah. So anyway, let's now look at this book. So we have begun yesterday the first teaching on the transmission lineage. Yeah, so the second part of that section, just to refresh our memory, it says, in order to understand what transmission means. Yeah? So this transmission, which is what has been transmitted by the lineage, and the lineage is said to begin with the primordial Buddha, Vajradhara. And in the historical context, this Vajradhara was Buddha Shakyamuni. So what has come down from great Vajradhara, from Buddha Shakyamuni, which then becomes what we call the lineage, passing through the lineage. What passes through the lineage, the DNA, so to say, is what is being transmitted. And the spiritual DNA is the transmission of bodhicitta. So he says here, in order to understand what transmission means, we have to know what it is that is transmitted. For example, people who transport tea and salt or drive sheep and cattle are called tea traders, salt traders, and traders of butter, right? Like these examples for the precious lineage too, with regards to what we say so much about lineage. Yeah? We have to know what it is that is transmitted. What is the DNA? And what that is the two kinds of bodhicitta. The bodhicitta in its two aspects. So here, the two aspects of bodhicitta refer to relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Relative and ultimate. So we begin the next section, relative bodhicitta. Of these two aspects of bodhicitta, of these two kinds of bodhicitta, then the relative kind is the intention of, I will establish my mothers, like put them in, to raise them. It has a connotation of raising them, rather than pushing them down. How do we push them down? Sometimes quite literally we push them down. Other times we push them down by like seeing them as lower. So instead, I will raise my mothers, all beings as infinite as the vastness of space, in happiness, in the state of happiness, and in the state free from suffering, and help them to attain the unsurpassable, perfectly complete, precious awakening. So these three are sometimes called love, compassion, and bodhicitta. But really, when we say relative bodhicitta, this is what we're referring to. Through the power of love and compassion, which is happiness and freedom from suffering, wanting happiness for all beings, wanting all beings to be free from suffering, that's love and compassion. Powered by love and compassion, pushed by love and compassion, propelled by love and compassion. We then do what? Not, we then go, explore space, so that humanity will have a second planet to move to when things go wrong here. No, that's not what we do for this. What we do for this is through unbiased love and compassion, unimpeded love and compassion, unlimited love and compassion for all sentient beings, which of course, that doesn't happen overnight. We cultivate that. Today we can only think of one. Tomorrow we can think of two. then 2.5, then 3, then 4, then all the way to infinity. Through love and compassion for infinite mother sentient beings, we will now, we will put them in the state of unsurpassable, perfectly complete and precious Bodhi. We shall lead them there. Now, of course, how do we lead them there? Well, first, we need to get there. Yeah. Moreover, both kinds of relative bodhicitta are now. Within relative bodhicitta, there are also two aspects. So the first level division is relative and ultimate bodhicitta. The second level division is within relative bodhicitta, there are again two aspects. And so here he says, moreover, both kinds of relative bodhicitta, the aspiring and the engaging. So aspiration and action bodhicitta. The aspiring and the engaging have to be duly aroused. You have to give rise to that in the presence of a qualified Lama who themselves have the two kinds of bodhicitta. So this is referring to the bodhicitta vow ceremony. In the presence of someone like that, we too give rise to aspiration and engagement bodhicitta, which some of you, many of you, participated, whether in person or online, most recently with His Holiness at the program at Urban Dharma. And then at various points, one time also I remember, we did this through Zoom. This was during the pandemic with Khenchen Rinpoche. At the end, I think, of our completion of our Bodhicayyavatara series. We also had the opportunity to do that. And I'm sure many of you on other occasions in the past have also done this. And then it says, by the way, so in the instructions for doing this ceremony, as found in, for example, Gampopa's Jewel Ornament of Liberation, then he says, you have to go do this in the presence of a guide who, him or herself, has also awakened, generated these two aspects of relative bodhicitta. And then it says there, by quoting different sutras, that, however, if you are not able to do that in person, because traveling to that person endangers your life. So that's a kind of important caveat. Endangers your life. Then you can take the bodhisattva vow from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then Gampopa gives instructions on how set up a shrine. Then in front of, in the presence of the representations of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, you can take this bodhicitta vow. So it says, unless your life is threatened. Now, I think we should remember that point. Now that everything has been made so convenient, is convenience really the answer to our problems? So please pause sometimes to think about that. At the end of the day, right, we call it making our priorities, but in Dharma language, we say, we give up distractions. Cannot be forced also, cannot be guilted. Don't let anyone guilt you into, I need to do more Dharma, I need to do more Dharma. You have to cultivate that. And then sometimes, if there's someone pushing a little bit, that's helpful. That's what sometimes our Dharma friends are for. Dharma teachers these days don't have that much guts. They have fallen into the trap. We have fallen into the trap of popularity contest. So we want to be popular. So we don't want to annoy students by pushing them. So now you need your Dharma friends to push you. Find yourself a good Dharma friend who can nudge and push you a little bit to, think about what kinds of distractions you should give up. And probably the first kind of distraction to give up is excuses. Then it gets tricky. What are excuses? Well, hard to know, hard to say. The same reason may not look like an excuse now, but when you're further ahead, you can look back and go, oh, yes, certainly that was an excuse. So, lack of inherent nature of experiences and phenomena. Once it has been aroused, relative bodhicitta in its two aspects, then all the trainings pertaining to it must be followed. That's all the trainings. So this is when we say, from now until awakening is reached, I will bind my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From now until the time of death, until the end of this lifetime, I will bind my body, speech, and mind to virtue, to virtuous activities. From now until this time tomorrow, I will bind my body, speech, and mind to virtuous activities. Unless they are followed, no matter how many times the ritual of arousing bodhicitta is received, it will be pointless. Therefore, take good care of this relative bodhicitta. Lots of praises of the power of this ceremony, power of this ritual. But even that, at the end of the day, if we don't put that, if we don't follow up from the aspiration bodhicitta with engagement bodhicitta, then it's quite pointless. So first, to know what the 10 non-virtues are and to give them up out of a bodhisattva motivation. That makes the avoidance of the 10 non-virtues part of bodhisattva path. If we are avoiding the 10 non-virtues simply because we are real terrified of the consequences for ourselves, not yet part of the bodhisattva path. Then maybe even less than that, we're avoiding the 10 non-virtues because we are afraid people will criticize us. Or we think, if I keep the 10 non-virtues, I would look really virtuous to other people. And people will respect me. People will give me things. Sure, you're still practicing the 10, avoiding the 10 non-virtues, and there's some benefit there for sure. But then, if you do it out of those concerns, then you're not even on the Hinayana yet. On the Hinayana level, avoiding the 10 non-virtues is just, not just, but it's limited to, I don't want to get in trouble. But we want to move that further to I'm avoiding the 10 non-virtues, motivated by relative bodhicitta, for the sake of all beings. At daybreak, so when you wake up, the mind should be habituated by repeating about 7 times. he recommends about 7 times, he says, the following: I will establish my mothers, all beings, as infinite as the vastness of space. This is exactly the same, actually, as what we always recite in our translation. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me. Basically, that same. This is a little contracted. This one doesn't explicitly tease out, our enemies, harm bringers. So here it says, I will establish my mothers, I will raise my mothers, all beings as infinite as the vastness of space, in happiness and freedom from suffering, and help them to attain the unsurpassable, perfectly complete, precious Bodhi. Then, throughout the rest of the day, all activities should be done in the best or middling manner. The best, how is it done in the best manner? The best manner is to infuse each and every activity of body, speech, and mind with bodhicitta. In short, think, I shall attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings, and everything I do shall serve that purpose. With all activities of body, speech, and mind governed by relative bodhicitta like that, put it into practice. I shall attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings, and therefore everything I do have to serve that purpose. More strong, I think, better. And everything I do have to serve that purpose. The middling is not explained here. So if I were to guess, if Gilbert Rinpoche was using middling in a non-technical sense, then he's saying, here is the best, the middling is something less than that. Yes, so he only talks about the best. So then the middling would be something like, I shall attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings, and most of the things I do should serve that purpose. So that's like middling, right? But if he was using this in a technical way, middling, then this is a reference to how, especially Atisha articulates that there are 3 capacities. If we look at, he says, Atisha says, if we look at beings in their pursuit of happiness, we can basically divide beings in the context of their pursuit of happiness. We can divide beings into 3 types, he says. Those with small scope, small capacities are capable of delaying gratification to a later time. Meaning, you're capable of thinking not just about gratifying your desires now or whenever that now is, but able to say, I will create, I will conserve so that greater happiness can be experienced later. And that later could be later at a later time, whether this life or next life. So often this is said to be that kind of attitude where you pursue the happiness of the God realm and the human realm and cultivate good, virtuous actions with the understanding that it will lead to a better existence, either as a human or as a god. So this, in some ways, for some of us, we might think, oh, what about like be happy now? Yes, if you can be happy now, good. But sometimes in our pursuit of like be happy now, we are feeding simply that instant gratification. Everything we want now. So then with the same motivation, we're like, I want to practice Dzogchen because it's about now. I want to practice the highest Mahamudra because it's now. Then it's not going to work, So according to Atisha's 3 types of individuals, he says, at the very least, you need to be the type that is capable of saying, for the sake of a longer term happiness, I'm willing to give up short term inconveniences. The middling then is still in pursuit of happiness, but now this pursuit of happiness comes with the understanding that as long as we are still going around and around in confused existence, in cyclic existence in samsara, then there's no real happiness. So the middling is what the hearers and the solitary realizes, what they are training to achieve, which is, oh, if I truly want happiness and freedom from suffering, a better human realm, a better God realm, not enough. In fact, anywhere in the 6 realms, anywhere in the 6 modes. When we talk about 6 realms, don't automatically just think about, 6 places or 6 bodies, 6 types of bodies. It also means the 6 modes of existing. Existing in the mode of a God being, existing in the mode of a demigod, and so on and so forth. So the middling is understanding then now the nature of samsara and then determined to leave. Then the highest is not just myself leaving, take everyone with me. Or a willingness to take everyone with me. In practice, cannot. You can't literally take them, You can charter a bus, and make the ride free, but you cannot, kidnap people into this bus. So the bus is the great vehicle. The motorcycle is the lesser vehicle, Then less than the lesser vehicle, maybe the skateboard, I mean, skateboard is pretty cool going around, short distances around town, right? If you have enough balance, But even the great vehicle, all you can do is to make the bus ride free. You cannot kidnap people. There is no human trafficking, even for their sake, in the bodhisattva vehicle. So that's the middling, if Kyopa Rinpoche was using middling in a technical way. Otherwise, then middling, he just means, less than the best way is the middling. Now, ultimate bodhicitta. The second kind is called ultimate bodhicitta. All phenomena encompassed by samsara and nirvana are one's own mind. Where is samsara? Samsara turns up in mind. Where is freedom from samsara? Freedom of samsara is also mind. So this statement especially, is telling us that samsara and nirvana are not places. Again, they are modes of being. But when we say this, we also need to be careful because of our culture, because of our cultural baggage. Many of us carry a cultural baggage of a fundamentally materialist view of the world. Not materialistic. Materialistic means, you like shopping, you like nice cars, you like nice clothing, you like nice food. That's materialistic. A materialist based view of life is that view that says, beyond this, which is material, there is nothing more. So then when we hear things like, samsara and nirvana is a mode of being, then we may accidentally think, oh, does that mean the Buddha says there's only this and then it's only in the mind? Because often, when we teach that, people will say, so if it is just this mind, then that's it. When you die, end of story, everything. The end. But no, that's not Buddha Dharma, That could be how some people understand Buddha Dharma given their materialist based outlook. So be careful not to reduce this statement. All phenomena encompassed by samsara and nirvana are one's own mind. Don't let this statement, reinforce kind of popular psychology. Oh, it's just in your mind. Then really what you're thinking of is mind is a function of brain. Then when the brain is no more functioning, finish. Mind, finish. No. Anyway, the mind is the mind is essentially primordially unborn, birthless emptiness. Unborn emptiness, birthless emptiness means no one created it. No one can create it to start with, therefore no one created it. It's birthless, meaning it's there as it is. It wasn't birthed at some point, and then possibly destroyed at some other point. But it's primordially, it has always been birthless emptiness, free from all extremes of elaboration. But within this emptiness, elaborations arise. But space, sort of the analogy, within space, because of space, we can have things. But no amount of things can really destroy space. When you put a chair in some space, you have not destroyed space. Likewise, this mind, this ultimate aspect of mind, here called ultimate bodhicitta, is free from all extremes of elaboration and effortlessly present. It was neither made by an awe-inspiring Buddha or God, nor fabricated by dull-witted beings. When this is realized, when you realize this truth, when you realize this fundamental fact, the great ocean of suffering that is samsara has already been completely abandoned. It almost sounds like an exaggeration, has already been completely abandoned. Even when there is the mere doubt, is mind empty or not, samsara is weakened. This is a very important and encouraging statement. Just merely, fleetingly, even non-seriously, you entertain this. Is this mind? Does this mind has this nature? Is the mind empty or not? So emptiness, the topic we covered this past weekend. Maybe somebody can share the YouTube link, which our very dedicated volunteers are getting better and better at getting everything, making it available on the YouTube channel. I predict that we will get to a point before even I teach, the videos will be up already. With technology and dedication, everything is possible. Before even I teach, the videos will be up already. So we can look forward to that day. It's amazing, when you have technology and dedication together. So this is like we say, wisdom and method together. Even if you have the technology, if you don't have people who are dedicated, don't work. You have people who are dedicated, don't know how to use technology. Oi. Don't work. So wisdom and method is like this. A good example, good analogy for why always in these teachings we talk about wisdom and method come together, wisdom and method come together. Many people who are involved in especially Tibetan Buddhism get because of all the hype, and advertising, of profound practice, profound method, profound this, profound that, blah, blah, blah. People are so busy seemingly applying method, but not applying wisdom. Doesn't work. Then, on the other hand, there are some I have met, seemingly applying a lot of wisdom, but unwilling to engage method. Also not going to work. It's like having a lot of dedication, but don't know technology. To the point of being adverse to even holding a mala or having bell and vajra. Then saying like, Milarepa doesn't have that. Milarepa also doesn't have a 60-inch, TV in his living room. You have to be consistent, You want to be Milarepa, you have to be Milarepa all the way. You can't have a 60-inch, well, however inches they are these days, I don't know, 120 maybe at this point. You can't have like a 60-inch TV, and drive around in a fancy car, and say, I know, my practice, I don't have those things. I don't use those things. Bell, dorje, dhamaru, it's like, then yeah, you go ahead, A lot of wisdom, no method. A lot of dedication, no technology. Don't know how to use technology. It'll take forever. On the other hand, a lot of technology, but don't apply wisdom, create more problems in the world. Khenchen Rinpoche talks about, he says it's kind of a little ironic, if not absurd, to watch people getting all excited and putting so much effort into organizing, 10-day world peace mantra recitation. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Meanwhile, the center or the monastery, on a day-to-day basis, people fight like insane, don't get along. This side jealous of this side, this side, don't like that side. It says no amount. All these magical balloons. Did y'all see that, or am I imagining things? Yeah, see, I didn't do anything. I didn't talk about celebration. Maybe magical. Is magical the word? Magical balloons? Hello, hello? Nope, didn't happen. Maybe this is the modern version of, like, in the Buddhist text, it talks about, the Dakinis are like, offering flowers from the sky. Now Zoom is offering balloons from out of nowhere. Anyway, yeah. Union of method and wisdom. It's coming up in this teaching, actually. And very interesting things is said about what is skillful means and what is wisdom, in fact. Very nice, coming up, yeah. So anyway, we come back here. It says, even when there is the mere doubt, is this mind empty or not, then samsara is weakened. So I got distracted. If you want to know more about this emptiness, what is and what is not emptiness, when we talk about emptiness, especially if you're new, I think listening to some of the teachings from this past weekend might be helpful, might be, and I don't know. Can't guarantee. Also, then quoting Aryadeva, one of the great masters of the Madhyamaka tradition, for doubt about all this to occur is something extremely rare. Doubt about what? Doubt about how real all of this is. We have so been habituated into all of this being absolutely real, absolutely solid. So he says, for doubt about this to occur is something extremely rare. But with merely a single doubt, samsara is undermined. Oh, sometimes samsara can feel so tyrannical. Sometimes samsara can feel so impossible. Sometimes samsara can feel like, I can't take it anymore. But let us not forget what Aryadeva says here. With merely a single doubt about, is this as solid and as real as I'm feeling right now? Principally, as I'm feeling. That's the level. When you've been dumped by your boss or your girlfriend, or in some cases, they are the same person, Oh my gosh, right? It's like, it's so real. It's so real. But at that moment, if we can have just a mere doubt, that's one way to state it. Another way to state it, merely remember, mind is empty. Meaning this emotion, you are not sad. If we want to use language to kind of tease out what is meant here, you are not sad, but you are having an experience of sadness. Give some distance between, don't identify with that feeling. You are not angry. You're having an experience of anger arising. Once you have put a little bit of space in there, then it's easier to separate from this experience. That's the practical meaning of, is this mind empty or not? There are more and more profound levels of realizing this statement, is this mind empty or not? But if we can begin even as simple as starting to go about, rather than thinking, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm excited, I'm bored, I'm depressed. Give some distance between those experiences and you experiencing them. And begin by saying, by recognizing, I'm having an experience of excitement now. I'm having an experience of boredom now. Or you can even say, I can see from the corner of my eye boredom slowly climbing in through that window that I left open there. If you can give form and animate your emotions, then you can start seeing all of this as a play. Then you're less likely, we're less likely to be dragged around by these things that turn up, With merely a single doubt, samsara is undermined. And so there's no need to mention that samsara is abandoned through the realization of this. When this is realized, there is nothing, not even the slightest bit, that is not realized, because there is no phenomenon that is different from mind. And this is why the Kagyu forefathers, the Kagyu elders, call this, all appearances are one's own mind. So the manifold appearances of white and red and so forth appear to be external, but actually there are no external appearances whatsoever that do not pertain to appearances of one's own mind. Then quoting the Uttara Tantra, in the same way that a jewel, due to the conditions of various colored backgrounds, does not appear in accord with its true nature, so too the Buddha, due to the various conditions of beings, does not appear in accord with his true nature. We can explain this a little bit more tomorrow, but here manifold appearances such as red and white. The footnote says the expression has to be understood in the sense of all phenomena of one's experience. So I think there's something else going on here. Red and white is sometimes in tantric vocabulary referring to the basic life energy substance that comes together to create the body. So obviously, on one level, it's related to the biological substances of sperm and ovum, but it's more subtle than that. It's not literally talking about sperm and ovum, but say underlying that are these potent energy. So red and white then becomes like a shorthand for all forms, all appearances. So that I think is also what's going on with the red and white. So the manifold appearances of white and red and white and so forth appear to be external, but actually there are no external appearances whatsoever that do not pertain to the appearances in your own mind. So here, I think this is crucial. Yeah, I don't think Gyoba Rinpoche is saying you should walk around thinking there's no external appearances, that there's nothing external. Right? It's not saying, it says there is nothing with regards to these external appearances. None of them exist in a way that is separated from the appearances appearing in your own mind. You see the difference? It's not saying. It's not a statement to reduce this into, oh, it's just your mind. It's saying whatever appearances that you're having, none of them merely exist right there like that. But how they appear to you is what this is pointing to. So no matter, so remember, what appears is what appears to you. But don't necessarily appear to others in the same way at all. So this is the simple and easy explanation for all the biases and prejudices that we have in the world, all the choices, all the likes and dislikes, they all appear in relation to our own mind, our own life experiences, our own history, our own this lifetime, many lifetimes. But yet, we operate as if the appearances appear from their own side. They don't. Again, we talked about this weekend. So we're going to stop here today. And then tomorrow we'll continue on. Yeah, starting on page 30 is the part where he says, the path of methods is not sufficient. Okay, we'll end today with the Bodhicitta dedication. Chanju sem choren poche ma ke pa nam ke gyuche ke pa nyam pa me pa ya one gong du pe wen shou. Okay, ta-ta.